This is the only police helicopter in this region, period.
Presently, we are flying about 600 hours a year. Hopefully, as the program expands and grows, we'll be able to get a second ship, go to about 1,200 hours a year. Crime's been down in Hawthorne over the last several years, and I know that our chief has attributed a lot of that to the presence of our police helicopter. It's just a terrific boon.
I noticed about the helicopter program, about the dedication of the individuals who are working in the helicopter. You know, these are people, the pilots, they love to fly, and the officers, they like to catch the bad guys, and they really are doing the entire South Bay a service.
We have 5 pilots that fly for us, and they're all civilian pilots. They all have thousands and thousands of hours in turbine helicopters. The flight officers are all police officers that fly as an overtime detail. They all have other regular jobs. Some of them are detectives, some of them are canine handlers, some of them are patrol officers. We have a 50 million candle power night sun that makes nighttime into daytime. We've chased robbers in Manhattan Beach where one guy tried to swim away and jumped into the Pacific Ocean and tried to swim away from the officer that was chasing him. And we were out there orbiting around, lighting him up. I mean, there's no place the guy can go, but it's nighttime, so when we lit him up, they were able to catch him real quick.
One of the things that we do is we'll go down to the beaches and we'll patrol the beaches at night with the infrared, and we'll light it up, see if there's anything on the beach, see if there's anything happening, and then we'll run the light along the beach along the South Bay. What that does is that's preventative patrolling, and from my position as a sexual assault detective, I don't know how many rapes or assaults that's preventing, because if somebody like a rapist or somebody who's stalking people and is planning to rape somebody, he's going to scope out what he's going to do. So if he knows that helicopter's coming there on a regular basis, he might not come down there and commit that crime.
We have the FLIR, which stands for forward-looking infrared, that sees people glowing in the dark. We've already had success with that in finding crooks that are hiding from the cops. We can search an area so much faster than a ground unit can, especially if you're having a problem in your parks. We can go by and either light it up with the night sun, and everybody will get chased out of there when we light it up. Especially if it's after the hours that nobody's supposed to be in the park, they just leave. Or if you're having a real problem, like if you're having dope sales or anything like that, we go by and we'll do a FLIR search. Instead of turning on the searchlight, we'll do it with the FLIR. And if there's anybody down there who they're going to glow, and we're going to be able to send a ground unit in to go in there and check him out and see what he's doing. LoJack also works remarkably better in a helicopter. The LoJack signal is subject to what's called line of sight, and the signal goes out in a straight line. So when you're on the ground, you have about a 3 to 5 mile distance that it'll pick the signal up, but it's also subject to bouncing off of buildings and being blocked by hills that sometimes you'll lose the signal and you'll have to drive around a while to pick it back up again. In the helicopter, it's up in the air, there is no obstruction, and the helicopter can pick up a LoJack signal easily from 25 miles away, which we've done. We picked them up as far away as Wilmington, downtown LA. We dedicated a whole shift to nothing but DUI interdiction, and we were averaging a traffic stop, one every 10 minutes, and wound up taking 5 people to jail, wrote about 20 tickets, impounded about 5 cars, and that was only in one 3-hour stretch of flying. And you stretch that out over an 8-hour shift, and then you do that 12 times a year, 1 day a month, and you put a serious dent in some DUI problems. If you had to take 20 guys on duty at time and a half, it's remarkably cheaper to run it with only 5 guys and the helicopter. We figure that with the helicopter and 5 people on the ground, it probably run about $750 an hour. 20 people on the ground at time and a half with no helicopter would run you about $1,000 an hour. So over the course of an 8-hour shift, that's $2,000 that we could save you. And if you do that 12 times a year, you're talking $25,000, $26,000. The helicopter will go about 140 miles an hour. The advantage that we have too is that we can fly in a straight line. If there's a pursuit going on, even if the guy has a Ferrari that can do 180, he's still going to have to go around corners. We'll stay up with him no problem because we can fly in a straight line. And the good thing about that is that the officers on the ground can back off. That's a terrific safety boon to the ground units, especially in a pursuit. But when the helicopter takes over, the ground units can back off. The helicopter can track the guy no matter where he goes. If he stops and bails out, we're right overhead to set up a perimeter, put police officers on each corner, seal off the area, send in the dogs, It's just a terrific, terrific tool. We have such an advantage having the high ground, as it were, to see everything that's going on. If we get out to a scene where there's a perimeter already set up, on many occasions, we will go and find a hole in the perimeter, and we'll be able to tell the ground troops, you need to put an officer over here on this corner to seal that off. It just works like a champ.
Being involved with local governments here in the South Bay for several years, I wanted to see for myself what the benefit of having helicopter enforcement was. We went up there, we saw they were trying to cordon off a perimeter, there was an opening in the perimeter. The helicopter program had a distinct advantage that they were able to point out to the officers where they can close a hole in that perimeter to go ahead and potentially capture an assailant.
It's probably one of the greatest tools that law enforcement's come up with in the last 20 years. You can't beat dogs and you can't beat helicopters. A burglar alarm or a robbery alarm. We know in police work that most of those alarms aren't good. So when the helicopter gets there, and we can get there first more than half the time, we can be orbiting around where the alarm is going off, and we can see that everything's pretty clear from the outside. If they have 3 units that are rolling, we can cancel 2 of them right off the bat, and they can go do police work elsewhere and just have the third, or the last car rather, come on in, check the perimeter, shake the doors, make sure everything's okay, and then he leaves. And we were able to free up those 2 other cars, and they can go someplace else and catch crooks somewhere else. And we've been able to cancel over 40 just in Hawthorne, flying part-time in just the first third of the year.
With the helicopter, we can bed people down. The helicopter's usually there within seconds to a minute, minute and a half. The person will bed down, will be able to get a containment, and therefore make the arrest. And we're able to solve a lot more crimes that way.
Containment is utmost important. It shrinks that area down and keeps that person in that location as much as possible so that he can be located.
All those big motor companies that have huge car lots, we fly over those all the time and we check them out. South Bay Ford, Toyota, Peyton Kramer. We're looking, because we know there shouldn't be anybody there at night except for a security guard. And we know what he looks like. So if there's somebody there, hey, bam, we light them up. That's prevention.
In the thick of things, when you need someone to go ahead and do pursuits, maybe a bank robbery, a DUI, the helicopter has a unique vantage point in achieving that. The other side of that is from a prevention standpoint. For example, if you're over the Galleria Mall, you're actually able to go ahead and deter crime, because if there are people in the parking lot, for example, looking to go ahead and steal holiday valuables, to commit crimes, rapes, etc., and so forth, when that helicopter's up there lighting up the parking lot, they are an extreme deterrent to that activity occurring.
We have one of our flight officers is a canine officer, and she has her unique perspective of how transporting her dog in the helicopter helps us train the other canines that we have in our department. Plus, we've also trained other canine officers throughout the South Bay. They've come and had their dogs transported so that if the day ever comes when they had to do it for real, the dog has already been inside the helicopter and isn't flustered by having it be a first-time experience. When we have our training, the flight officers that are on the SWAT team, they have that input.
I'm on the tactical entry team, which is a equivalent to a SWAT team that we have for different departments. The helicopter, when it needs to be, can be used for facilitating moving personnel from one location to another in a quick and safe manner. You can easily go inside the helicopter and go and, things permitting, be placed on a roof and placed behind an area where the helicopter can land, in which you can get a little better containment regarding areas that needs to be controlled regarding people inside the building, your suspects or whatnot. In addition to that, the helicopter can also be used regarding the canine and transporting the dogs for police work from one location to another in a quick and safe manner, and enabling the capture of the suspect and again, lowering the danger for police officers and for the public at large. And again, safety is number one. He wants to make sure that not only the officers are going to be safe that go to location, but also whoever else is in that area, the public at large.
I think when used properly, I think it's of extreme value. I know there are a lot of concerns by local residents about having a helicopter there. There may be the implications for having that system there. But yeah, I see true value there.
And it's just a great asset to police work.
This particular helicopter, because of its speed and because of its power and because of the way that it's equipped, is perfect for an area the size of the South Bay. There's 55 square miles in the South Bay. This helicopter can go from one end to the other in less than 5 minutes.